Real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.
All right, and welcome. It is Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Co-op Community Connections. Joining me as always, the always smiling Mr. Greg Lessard. How are you today, Greg?
Well, I'm smiling, so I must be good.
Now, Greg, why don't you go ahead and introduce our next guest, because these people that you have selected today were handpicked for our subject today.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to the show today because I'm not quite sure where this subject goes. So we have Jim Readey, he's with the Yoga Center, and we have Dr. Amanda Hegnauer, and she runs the Hegnauer Holistic Health Center. And today's subject is movement in nature. So what does that mean? I just envision. I'm not sure what that means. I don't even know what I'm envisioning. So I'd like to start probably with Jim. What does movement in nature mean to you, or where are we going with this?
I think the fact that you don't know what that means is indicative of the problem that we humans have, because we don't get out in nature in a way that's very mindful. So I think Amanda and I have different angles that we're going to come at this from, but basically it means being out where there are birds and there are animals and there are trees and bushes and fresh air and being out there, really being out there. So how about that for a start?
Okay, I can see. So why isn't it just like being in nature? So what's the movement part? Is that you're actually you're moving, you're hiking, you're fishing, you're doing something. What's the movement part?
Okay, so let's start with how do you move in nature? One of the things that is a passion of mine is to take my shoes off and walk barefoot. Nazzy, you're a fan as well?
Absolutely. It's something that when I was a kid, I hated wearing shoes, and we had a gigantic backyard, and my mom would always yell at me, "There's ticks out there. There's ticks and there's bugs and there's dog poop." And I love the feeling of the earth touching my feet. And I know it sounds weird, but I kind of felt like I was connecting better to earth. I don't know. Does that sound weird?
Not at all. Most of us have rubber-soled shoes.
Yeah.
And rubber is an insulator. The earth gives off an electrical current. I think it's negative ions, which is actually a positive thing. It's a good thing, but it's negative ions that the earth gives off, and we interact with the earth in that way if we're not insulating ourselves with those rubber-soled shoes, etc. And that helps to clear up free radicals, among other things. Maybe Amanda would like to talk about free radicals, but that's, as far as I know, that's the thing that one of the contributors to cancer.
Yeah.
But yeah, connecting with the earth, bare feet. I'm glad you had that impulse when you were younger.
Yeah. And I still do as an adult. And now I live in the city, so it's not as much. I mean, I have to keep it on because, well, there's nails and there's glass and there's different things like that. But I love it. And the beach. There's just something about putting your feet and just kind of burrowing your feet into the sand at the beach that's just so soothing, comforting.
Yeah. I don't want to stop Amanda from jumping in. Jump in if you want to, but I'll say quickly that my mother grew up really dirt poor in Arkansas, and I think they had to go barefoot a lot, and she would not allow her children, meaning me and my siblings, to go barefoot when we were younger. So I learned. I'm going to say I was crippled in a way. I can say more about that later, but crippled by that because if you ever watch adults, especially adults, go barefoot anywhere other than the beach, it's really embarrassing for our species the way humans walk on the earth when they're barefoot. It's like they've never been upright before. If you know what I mean, it's this kind of like real ginger kind of movement. It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so very true. Now, I want to bring it over to Amanda for a moment before we continue this conversation. So you're a naturopathic. I can never say it right. Naturopathic family doctor.
Yes.
So tell us exactly what that is. What does that mean?
Yep. So as a naturopathic doctor, my license in the state of New Hampshire is very similar to your primary care physician.
Okay.
And so basically anything your primary care can do, that is our training, write prescriptions, all of that. I think a lot of it, when it really comes down to it, the difference is philosophy, getting down to the root cause, removing that obstacle to cure. And because our organ systems are so connected, hopefully, knock on wood, your symptoms start to resolve. And I do a lot of work with all the specialists, endocrinology, cardiology, and all of that. And they're all so brilliant within their field. However, and I don't want to use the word limited, but I just did. So they're so specific within that box that as a naturopath, we're in this really, and I'm speaking, for in general, we're in this really unique position where we can look and try to look at the person as an individual, as a whole, putting all the organ systems together. And so I guess that sort of brings me back to kind of what Jim was talking about too, is, getting down to the root cause of really what's going on. And is that getting out, getting your feet grounded in nature, whatever that means to you, whether that is walking, barefoot on the grass or in the mountains, or I have this wonderful patient who loves to go to the beach, and it's not only just putting her feet in the sand, it's listening to the ocean and the waves and that whole thing. We're all made of electrons. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but we're all made of electrons. Thank you. And molecules that vibrate. And so between putting your feet in the sand and, like Jim said, walking really on the grass and in the dirt and listening, it's all vibration.
Yeah, anyway. It's true. And the other thing too, just going, and Jim, we'll get back to you in a second. I think we here in America, I almost feel like we're the minority, because if you take a step back and you look at the big world, majority of countries around the world, they're not wearing shoes. Yeah. I mean, have we done ourselves a disservice by putting these rubber moccasins on our feet? And Jim, good thing or bad thing?
Yeah, and I'd say not to mention other species don't wear shoes for the most part. Yeah. So I wanted to pick up on something Amanda said, which is that we are made up of electrons. There's a doctor, a cardiologist out of New York, and his name is Steve Sinatra. I think you'll remember the last name. Steve Sinatra. He's written several books on earthing. It's also called grounding, as Amanda mentioned. It's grounding or earthing. And he says all of his patients he looks at as electrical systems. The human body to him is an electrical system, and that's how he treats it. And so he recommends to all of his patients that they take their shoes off and walk in the earth as early and often as possible. Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted to mention, Dr. Sinatra, because he's got plenty of videos on YouTube if you want to just check that out. And he'll talk about the importance of going barefoot. The other thing I wanted to get in before this is over, and I don't have to do it now, is moving on all fours. If you're afraid to take your shoes off, at least touch a tree or touch the earth with your hands, because it all will conduct through the body. You've probably heard of tree huggers, and I finally realized what that was about. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's a real practical connection with the earth and the earth energy that Amanda and I are talking about. But as you, Russ, are talking, I'm going to show you some movement you can do on the earth on all fours. You can move around. It's like a yoga posture in motion.
Yep. So basically, for those listening on radio, it looks like he's crawling. He looks like Spider-Man crawling up a wall. He's just on the tips of his toes and on his hands, and he's kind of going back and forth on the carpet. And it very simple to do. Very, very simple to do.
Simple and really challenging. It works your core muscles. It works you all over. And I understand now why monkeys and gorillas and apes are so darn strong, because they do that all day long.
Yeah. Wow.
Not to mention, it helps your elimination system to be down in a squat. Often, it's really good for elimination. I'm talking about the organs of digestion and elimination.
Even lymphatics, as I'm sort of watching this whole, because it does look like they're very specific yoga poses, but as you're moving the lymphatics as well. So really, really great for detox, I would assume. You're more of a specialist than I am when it comes to yoga, but so important.
I am slightly out of breath. You probably can't hear it because I'm trying to disguise it, but just doing that little bit, it really is a big.
You still look great, though, Jim. You look great.
You're the expert. Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg. What was your question?
So I would imagine most individuals would be doing that in the privacy of their backyard. I've never seen anybody on the beach doing that, nor do I, even after this broadcast, would I envision people are taking to the beach and doing it. So, Jim, what would you suggest for, in practical terms of, or getting over it, your, I guess, fear of being criticized or something?
Yeah, I like your idea of doing it in the privacy of your backyard. If you have to be indoors, particularly during the cold winter months, that's acceptable. But if you can get outside and get on the soil wherever there is, exposed earth, that would be a great place to do it. To get over it, do it with a friend. I notice when I do yoga in public this is like decades ago when I started doing yoga in public, like on the State House lawn in New Hampshire, I would get strange looks. But if I did it with someone else, my girlfriend, for example, I didn't get strange looks. I wasn't just this weird guy doing weird things in public. I was someone who had company. So anyways, it's something happens in the human brain that association makes it okay. Yeah. So do it with a friend, or meet me at Rollins Park in Concord. I do it there all the time.
I'm going to be meeting you there, Jim. I'm going to be all right. So I have a question for you guys, and this is for Amanda and Jim. I've done yoga a couple times, and one time we had, we just watched a video. And one of the things that I love about yoga is the part when it makes you just be still. There's a part where you're just kind of sitting there and you're just listening. Why is it that when I'm doing that, and I've done that in the past, I can actually hear my heart beat? That when I first heard it, it freaked me out. Why is that? And Jim's laughing because he probably hears it all the time. But why? Why? I mean, am I weird that I can feel my heart beating, or and I can feel it in my ears, my heart beating, and only when I'm doing yoga.
I want to take the layup version of that question, and maybe Amanda has a more sophisticated version of it. But you can hear your heart beating because it is, and you're paying attention, and it's your body. But a little more seriously, you're getting more directly connected to it. Your focus is now right here now. What's the book? Be Here Now. You are being here now instead of your mind focusing on something else. And we become habituated to what is always going on around us. We become habituated to the sound of our own breath. But now you're starting to notice your breath and your heartbeat. So I don't know. I'll leave it there for Amanda to take it.
Yeah.
All right, so now, Amanda, what's the medical?
As you're talking, and I'm listening to Jim, and because of course my medical brain goes to, oh gee, is there an underlying pathology going on? Is it an irregular heartbeat? Do we need to listen? But it's sort of
a murmur.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going, oh gosh, but it's kind of fascinating to me because that's where my brain goes, and Jim goes in a different direction. So, okay, so let's think naturopathic medicine, bringing the two worlds together. Once we've ruled out any type of underlying pathology, we just have to kind of laugh at that. Then I totally agree. It's like in this century this craziness that we're living in now, our brain is 100 miles an hour. We're going, the speed of light, and we've got 18 things going on at once. We've got devices, not even one, numerous devices. Oh, yeah. And so when you're going through a yoga practice or whatever it may be for you, whether it's hiking, paddleboarding, surfing, being in the barn with your horses, whatever it is that, that keeps you focused and brings you down a little bit, and so you are able to really realize what's going on in your body. Like for you, hearing your heartbeat, or even just listening to your breath, or the fact that you're not breathing, I think that's what part of that is okay, so there really isn't anything going on. It's you're able to become focused and grounded, whatever again that means for you, whether it's having your feet literally on the ground or kind of eliminating all of those stimuli and really being able to focus, that's when these other things come up for you. And that's what you can focus on. And from there, where does that take you? Not only are you, hearing your heartbeat, you can hear it here, what else is going on in your body?
Yeah.
And then you can focus in on that.
Yeah. And I would just use the phrase in my practice of cultivating a subtle awareness.
Mm.
You're starting to become aware of the subtleties of your being. And that's what meditation is when we start to notice old memories, they'll start bubbling up, and we'll watch them and they'll release. We'll notice the tension in our body. And when you notice the tension, it will start to release as well.
Yeah.
Where attention goes, energy flows. It rhymes. It must be true.
So movement in nature, I think the more that we are out in nature, the more balance we bring back into our lives. But in that, for many, is sort of a gift to themselves. So what would be your advice to try to be able to bring more movement in nature into your life, and to have how does somebody do that without, because we're in our routines, and it's hard to, change our routines.
Yeah, true. It's true.
So, Amanda, start with you on that one.
Yeah, I say baby steps. Start small. Don't jump right out there and don't go for like a 20-mile hike when you're not in shape to do so. I think it's really just looking and finding what's going, like I mentioned, just what is going to work for you. Because, going for a hike isn't going to work for everyone. Yoga is not going to work for everyone. Sorry, Jim. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to work for you. I know.
Jim's pouting.
I am a huge proponent. But it's just finding what's going to work for you, and even just doing a couple minutes and just take it from there. And don't set your expectations super, super high. A goal is good, but not off the chart. Just take it slow and be okay. Be okay. I think that's the hardest part, or maybe, with not reaching your goal, or even reaching your goal and excelling. Just being okay with what you're doing is a huge, huge place to start. Yeah.
I made a face when Amanda said that yoga doesn't work for everyone, because I recall most of the time when I ask a guy if they're interested in coming to a free yoga class of mine, the number one excuse is, well, I'm not really flexible enough for yoga. And we go, what the heck? That's why you would do yoga.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I'm with Amanda. Titrating whatever your new activity is, meaning do it a little bit at a time until it's a habit. And some say it's 21 days, some say it's 30 days, some say it's 60 something days to like undo an old habit and start a new habit. But anyways, do something regularly. Like, how about, Greg, getting out and taking a little bit longer walk? Yeah, just being outdoors and taking a walk, and then start to explore your own neighborhood or your wherever you live in the south end of Concord or wherever. Find those little places where there are woods. I found a trail, a really surprising trail about a mile from my house. I didn't know it was there. And now I go and I walk barefoot for about an hour with my partner every day. That may be way too much for some people, but even if you're just on a regular walk, take off your shoes once in a while and try 5-6 steps.
Yep.
Baby steps, as Amanda said.
Yeah. Just getting balanced. We're just about out of time. Amanda, please give out your website and some information on how somebody can contact you for treatment and get in touch.
Sure, absolutely. My website is www.h2health.org. My office is located in Warner, and so you can always give the office a call at 603-456-2453.
All right. And Jim, you had mentioned a free yoga class, and I will tell you, when I was doing yoga regularly, I could bend over and touch my toes. And now that I'm not doing yoga, I have trouble bending over to tie my sneakers. So I know it's been a while. So how do we get in touch with you, Jim?
Yeah, make sure you bend your knees now when you tie your sneakers.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So my website is nhyogacenter.com. My email address is, I'll just spell this out, take6breaths at gmail.com. So spell it out, no numerals there. And what else? Oh, I'm in Concord. I do an outdoor class at Rollins Park, and also work on Zoom for folks who don't want to travel.
Not yet. And Greg, Final word, my friend. Take it away.
Final word. Well, it's Friday, and Friday was pre-COVID was a big day at the co-op because it's sticky chicken and mac and cheese. But they have brought that back. It's all pre-packaged. It's hot and it's ready to go. Sticky chicken and mac and cheese on Fridays at the Concord Food Co-op.
Excellent, Greg. Thank you, Jim. Dr. Amanda, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nazzy.
Thank you all again.
We will see you next time for the Co-op Community Connections on the Pulse of New Hampshire.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.